Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Forecasting with Friends.
I know, right? This is fun. This is the first time we've got to do this together.
Yeah, and we just took a selfie. So
it'll be on all the
yes.
social media platforms.
Give us a like.
Yeah, we need the likes. We need the shares. Do we share anymore? Do we repost? I'm not sure what we do with that kind of stuff.
You put it on a story.
Yeah.
You do the whole social media deal. But this is JD and my first time anchoring Forecasting with Friends together, which is very fun.
It's still a relatively new program, so it's not that like it's that odd of a thing. But yeah, we're having fun, right?
Yeah, it's nice because we get to talk about everything weather, which I think people probably wonder, okay, do you guys actually talk about the weather when you're not on television? And the answer is yes.
We do, yeah.
All the time.
Sometimes by choice, sometimes not by choice, right?
So it's kind of our way to get to talk about weather and weather adjacent things.
Yep, totally.
Which is nice.
So I just came in at 10 o'clock or so. You've been here some this morning. You've been doing some of the forecasting. So is there anything going on right now that?
Yeah, there's actually some showers along the coast. So we've kind of been seeing this over the last several days, starting over the weekend. It was just kind of like coastal showers, and then the thunderstorms started to develop a little bit later in the day, and that's exactly what we're expecting once again. Now, this is going to be my first June here, but this is what it's like in June. Hot with PM storms.
And right on cue, watching the Gulf a little bit for next week, because while we're not expecting a large tropical cyclone, in other words, I'm not saying there's going to be a hurricane, probably not even a tropical storm, but some sort of moisture associated with the Gulf of Mexico could have a little organization to it, could not, will be bringing us some rain. And basically, if you're looking at a radar recently, it's what's happening in Florida right now.
Just skirt.
It's our turn next week, so that's something certainly to keep an eye on.
Well, and speaking of Florida, just looking at downright numbers, last night between 7 and 8 o'clock in Sarasota, they got 4 inches of rain in a short amount of time, obviously an hour, and then over the span of several hours, a foot of rain.
Woo.
And the thing is, they're going to be getting even more throughout the rest of the week. So, flooding, we talk about rain here in Houston, and it's like a little bit of rain goes a long way. Flooded streets. And so next week is kind of going to be what we're eyeing on Monday through Wednesday.
For us, here for us locally. So as we talked about it today, we've got the showers that are kind of firing up in the morning, and then we'll see even more activity in the afternoon. And you're going to give us a full report here at the end of the program with radar and all that kind of fun stuff. But then our turn with the tropical mess is coming next week. So what I'm trying to work in here somehow is Father's Day. That's what I'm trying to work towards. Father's
right
Day.
In the middle.
It's Sunday, everybody. Let's get ready for Father's Day is what I'm trying to remind everyone.
Still have time for cards.
I think the fathers need to be celebrated a little bit.
Yes, they do.
So I just sort of putting a little it out there to make sure you celebrate the fathers somewhat.
Yes, so Sunday. Now there's 30% chance for rain on Sunday. So my husband wants to play golf with his father. So I said, you know
what a great
maybe
idea.
You should do it Saturday just because it's going to be the better chance for less rain. And that's too many negatives. But I would say that if you do have those outdoor plans, you're going to be for sure good to go on Saturday. Sunday is going to be one of those hit or miss. And golf, you want to get in early or late. So I'd say get in early if you can. That's going to be best chance for you.
And while I have an outdoor activity coming up this weekend, my boys are actually both out of town, and they'll be driving back, and they're both coming back into town. They're separate
on Sunday.
Places. On Sunday, but I'll of course have already be at work. So I say all that just because my outdoor activity is not necessarily a Father's Day. It's just that it's my wife and I having an outdoor activity, and we're going to the blueberry farm. Have you picked the blueberries?
No, but that sounds like so much fun.
It is hot, for one thing, I will say that. But no, it is so much fun. And because you got to kind of monitor the heat a little bit, we're going to go late on Friday. They're only open. This is the one up. It's Moorhead Blueberry Farm. I think it's just Moorhead. It's Moorhead's. I know that. It's up in the Conroe area, sort of Montgomery County to the, I forget the I think Woodlands, Conroe, somewhere in that vicinity. So we'll drive up there. We'll go late in the evening, and then I forget what time they close, but basically at sunset.
Up until
more or less sunset is when they close.
And then have dinner plans after.
We'll see. We'll possibly. Sometimes we're so hot and sweaty we don't want to go sit down in a restaurant somewhere. We just want to get home. But yeah, sometimes we want to go out and have a meal and then get home. But so. Again, that's going to be on Friday, so I'm not worried about the rain necessarily. Making those plans, you got to do that.
And if you tell your father that, he's going to be like, wow, you really thought about me, because nobody wants their plans canceled.
Right, totally.
So have brunch plans inside on Sunday for Dad. Still have time for a card, still have time for chocolate, and not weather adjacent at all, but I have a really good Father's Day recipe. Hot fudge sundae cake.
When does your new recipes first air? What's the premiere date?
Fox Local, 6:30 p.m. Thursdays.
So Thursdays is when they come out.
That's when the long one comes out.
Okay.
And then Friday morning at 7:45 is when the short TV version, and then the anchors get to try it. And then again on Sunday.
Well, of course, on Sunday.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, in other words, the Father's Day. You said it is Father's Day or not really Father's Day?
Yeah. Oh no, it's Father's Day.
So the Father's Day recipe comes out on Fox Local tomorrow, and then Friday morning is when the fun starts.
On TV,
All right. Awesome. Hey, we don't get to talk about this much. I'm transitioning now to Mike's portion this morning. Again, we don't get to talk about this much, but we have Fox has its own computer model. You hear us talking about computer models all the time, and Fox has its own model, and
it's impressive.
Yeah, it does a really good job with tropical. I think that's where it's really scored the highest marks is in the tropical side of things. So I'm not exactly sure what Mike's going to say here. I don't want to take away from anything he says, but we definitely want to check in with our chief meteorologist, Mike Gitzkovitz here, talking about our Fox model.
Yeah, hey guys, as we get deeper into this hurricane season and we're tracking a lot of stuff out there, in fact, already we have some things to talk about. I want to let you know that we have another tool in our toolbox, sort of something else in our arsenal that the other guys don't really have, and that's the Fox model. So the Fox model is an actual exclusive model that nobody else has other than Fox. It was developed by Fox meteorologists using what's called the weather research and forecasting model, which is very often used like in academic research. If someone's doing a PhD project in fact, I had a good friend who did that, got his master's degree project at the University of Houston using the WRF weather research and forecasting model, and he was using it to model heavy rain over Houston and modifying the model to be specific to Houston. Well, what we have here is a tropical model that's been optimized to really pinpoint weather like around the Gulf Coast. It began over in Tampa, and it's now spread over to our area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this model as sort of a second opinion this hurricane season. So of course, we and everybody else has access to the GFS model, which is the American model, and then we take a look at the European model. Both of those are sort of the gold standard. But exclusively on Fox 26, you'll be able to see the Fox model. And so this is just an example of what we're going to use it for here over the next few days. And that's checking out what's going to be happening in the Gulf. Initially, this big plume of moisture heading toward Florida, which is going to bring them a threat for heavy rain. In fact, they already had some flooding around there yesterday. And then we have to keep an eye on the Gulf of Mexico here. There is a chance that, of course, we'll be talking about here very shortly, of some development in the southern Gulf of Mexico as we head into the early part of next week. So we'll keep an eye on this model, see how it jives with the GFS and Euro model, and you'll be able to get a second opinion or a third opinion with our exclusive Fox model, not just here on this disturbance in the Gulf that we're potentially watching right now, but throughout this hurricane season and the hurricane seasons to come. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff here coming out of the Fox 26 Weather Center, guys.
And it's awesome. I mean, it's so cool that we get to say our exclusive Fox model only right here on Fox. And JD, we used it for some of the hurricanes the last 2 years in Florida.
Sure.
And for Hurricane Ian, which, was a massive storm, it was it was pretty spot on.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, if you don't remember, Allison was in Florida for last hurricane season, and for at least 2 years, or a couple
so
years, and it had a couple active storms and everything to watch. So yeah,
3.
hands-on experience with the Fox model for sure.
And it was great. And the thing is, no other station has this in town. It's only going to be places with Fox owned and operated stations. So it's really great. We, just another thing that we have in our toolbox.
Yep, totally.
That you can trust us and depend on us all hurricane season long.
Yep.
So we'll be right back after this break. You're not going to want to miss the hurricane gear test with JD and Allison.
All right, welcome back to Forecasting with Friends. Meteorologist Allison Gargaro, meteorologist John Dawson. And Allison, you have your cooking segments, and I love to do hurricane gear test. That's our preparation segment that we do. But I have so many things nowadays that come in. I was thrilled that we have Forecasting with Friends now because I can do more. Because they only give me 3 minutes at the most, and it's only once a week. And so now I get to do even more. And today I have a little bit of an unusual one. It's a little bit different. Remember, the 5 things I want people to think about are food and water, a flashlight, a way to charge your cell phone, and a first aid kit. So first on the list was food, right? And so that's actually what this represents.
Really?
There's a company called Damn Man Snacks for Men or something. I forget the tagline on it, but again, the company is. And this they sent me is their sling bag of meat. There's meat in here.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
And let me just start off right now saying, already I'm a little disappointed in scoring it low because when you go to their website, they've got a big logo on the sling bag. We got no logo on our sling bag. I don't know why the one they sent me doesn't have.
Maybe they're flying off the shelf.
Maybe. I mean, this is their opportunity, right? If they had their logo on it, I'd be holding it up right here, right now. But they didn't, and I'm not sure why that's the case. But still, we're not gonna be that too.
We want to get to the inside.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready? So the idea here would be that you need to have food, right? And you need to have shelf-stable food. So what we've got in here is some food that can hang around for a while, right? So this, I'm gonna let you look that over.
Okay.
Tell me what you got.
Old Wisconsin beef
I'm just gonna get it
sausage
all out
bites.
on the table here.
Beefed up flavor. Okay. So these are like little beef jerky, and it's cut. So it's just kind of pick up and eat.
Now, this is I would eat this. I would think it's just summer sausage, right? It's
Perfect.
A small serving of it, and you know, you always want to look up the ingredients. If you know, if, beef and pork and those sorts of things, depending on what your diet is, you always want to kind of keep that in mind. I've never been a really big fan. Like, I'll do jerky, but like these sticks like this.
JD, these are my favorite.
I knew it. See, this is what happened.
favorite.
You have these little sticks that are like, this is the snack stick.
Yeah, and then look, this one comes with the cheese.
So, yeah, now we're talking.
Smokestack.
All right.
Bourbon and bacon flavored sausage and a bacon cheese.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is honestly not a bad idea to have something like this for, you know, we kind of joke about it. They've got kind of a fun name to the company, and, you know, it's a sling bag of meat. I mean, that whole, but this is really not a bad idea. The key that you need to think about, and I've already mentioned it, is yes, you've got the whatever your dietary habit, you know, what if you can eat what these are actually made out of, right? So this has the cheese that's in it as well that you were talking about. Now, here's the real thing you got to focus on is the shelf life. You know, how long, what's the expiration date, right?
May 22nd, 2024.
Okay, so now I will preface this. I received this in February. So I've had this sitting around the house, or sitting in the office for a while. I've had this since February. So if you were to want to do something like this, again, you don't have to buy the sling bag of meat, but maybe, oh yeah, I think I will grab some summer sausage and throw it in.
Why not?
Or maybe a whole bag of meat. But you have to check the expiration. Basically, you just need 6 months. You don't need something that's going to last 3 years, right? It needs to go at least 6 months. So which one did we just look at? Was May? Okay.
Sorry.
The summer sausage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one, you're not going to be able to keep this until September, right? You're going to need to use that one up. But if you get something now, like this one is August, so this one is a little bit better, right? So you'll have to just sort of, so if you buy something right now, you just have to check those expiration dates and make sure that it runs through. And really, this goes with any sort of non-perishable goods. It doesn't have to be a can of tuna or whatever that will literally sit around for a long time. Like even I like the idea of even some fun things, like when you're at the store, what about a box of Pop-Tarts? Just get a little something special. It'll hang around. It'll last 6 months. You could put that with your hurricane supplies. But yes, you do need to get some more shelf savers. Like the little chicken also comes in those pouches.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, they'll sit around.
SpaghettiOs?
Yeah, totally. So again, this was fun to kind of do a hurricane gear test. I would probably rate this, you know, I usually give it a rating. I would probably do a pretty decent rating on this, on my categories, on my priority scale. But mainly I just wanted the idea, the concept of the food. And then this company has they have a lot of nuts and cheeses.
That's awesome.
So it's more than just the meat products. There's lots of other
But I actually kind of like the idea of the bag, especially if you have kids, like, you know, their initials, an A or a C, whatever it is. So it's kind of like, this is their little bag, you know, and you can say, okay.
All right, this is
fantastic.
Good,
I like
awesome.
it.
We like what we've got here. I want to talk a little bit more about this idea of preparation, and is it too late? We're already in June. Is it too? No, it's never too late. I had a great interview with Lance Wood from our local National Weather Service office, and this is going to be a little bit more of a continuation of what we showed you yesterday, just talking about that preparation for the season.
All right, welcome back to Forecasting with Friends. I'm meteorologist John Dawson, and we do have a friend today here for real. This is Lance Wood, and Lance is down at the National Weather Service office here in the Houston-Galveston area and has been here for a while, and I'm excited to be able to talk to my friends in the weather community, and Lance and I have been working together for a long time because we've both been around Houston for a long time. So Lance, let me just give you an opportunity to give an introduction and kind of give your details on title and responsibilities there at the Weather Service.
Sure. Yeah, it's great to talk to you today, John. I'm the Science and Operations Officer here with the National Weather Service Office. I've been in that role since, I guess, late 2006. And I've been a forecaster, senior forecaster here before that since the late 90s, and actually grew up in Houston. So I've been around Houston weather a long time, and forecasting the weather a long time as well. What I do currently is kind of like try to bring the latest and greatest science and research into operations and do some training as well.
Let's just start, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because it's pretty well known that everyone's expecting a busy hurricane season. But just your thoughts on, what do you think about all these high numbers that are coming out for our seasonal outlooks?
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. There's a lot of agreement there, and I'm in agreement with that as well. Pretty much very unlikely to not have an above normal season. I mean, the cards are stacked in our favor for that with the warm sea surface temperatures, very above normal out there. And again, as the other main driver in the climate is the transitioning to a La Nina. So those two things together, from what we know about seasonal forecasting, points to a lot of storms, especially as we get into, the peak of our season, August and September.
And I'm glad you brought that up with August and September, because obviously we're in June right now, and I think the La Nina transition is not really a big impact on June, in my opinion. Number one, we haven't quite got there yet, but also it's really the warm waters in the Gulf, and we've been talking about maybe seeing something sort of tropical like next week in the forecast. So at this point, we're kind of continuing here at Fox 26. We're sticking with the term a Gulf low is kind of what we're sticking with, because we think it's generic enough and doesn't sound too overly threatening, but also accurate as far as what it might turn out being. So that's as common though for this time of the year. So talk to us a little bit about what happens in June in the Gulf of Mexico and really how it impacts us here in Houston.
Yeah, once we get these kind of warm, moist air masses and we get the flow off of the Gulf, June is a month where we typically get a decent amount of rainfall. We can also see some tropical waves, that are kind of moving across the Caribbean, and we have to watch those. There are times where we get kind of a broad area of low pressure that can develop for, say, a week or two, kind of around the Yucatan, the Northwest Caribbean, and into the Bay of Campeche there, that southern part of the Gulf. And when that broad area of low pressure forms, it's really broad. I mean, it's just a general area. We kind of watch to see if anything smaller within it can develop into a tropical cyclone. And that's probably the situation that it looks like kind of next week. We know pressure is going to be low kind of throughout the Gulf. And so we're just kind of monitoring. Like I said, could something, if thunderstorms stay in the same area long enough with the pressure already being low, could something develop and do we need to watch for tropical cyclone development? So still looks to me like a week out before, we have that threat.
Yeah, certainly there is some time. And with this much distance, I don't get real excited about where things are going, because the models continue to kind of take things different directions. But certainly it does seem like there will be something trying to form. And so far, at least, indications are it would remain relatively weak, so that we're not talking about a big old hurricane or anything. It would be relatively weak, not so organized. But certainly it could be a rainmaker, right? This is the time of year that we can see that.
Yeah, whether or not you get development or not on the tropical cyclone side, we could definitely see an increase in moisture, and definitely could have some heavy rain to contend with. But you're right. We're kind of in that when we get in that past a week or about a week out, it is very hard to get specific. I'm glad you brought up that it doesn't look like anything too strong, like a big hurricane. That's generally pretty unlikely in June in the Gulf. It's not unprecedented, but unlikely. Much more likely to see more like a depression or tropical storm in the Western Gulf than a big, powerful hurricane, at least in June.
Tropical.
Welcome back, everyone. I want to take you out to our FoxRad radar because we are monitoring some thunderstorms developing along our coast. Now, I actually want to say that lightly because there's only a few lightning strikes. Really, it's just some pockets of heavy rain that's moving toward Palacios, Port Lavaca, and we are seeing a lot of them just standing still, meaning they're not moving much. So there actually could be some areas of some pretty heavy rain. Do want to take you down to Freeport, Lake Jackson, and likely making its way up toward Angleton. You can see right here that there's an outflow boundary, and then another thunderstorm develops just south of Angleton proper, and then out over the Gulf. And let's take you out to the west side of the viewing area because there's a line of some very heavy rain and really not too many lightning strikes. About 5 within the last 15 minutes. We're seeing that out toward Giddings and moving into Brenham. So it is 11:27 and we're likely going to see a little bit later this afternoon these thunderstorms start to move into Houston. So before we see any of that rain, temperatures are warming up 88 degrees as we speak. And our latest forecast models doing a good job at showing a lot of that heavy rain pushing up from the south, League City out to Friendswood, even into Houston and the Heights later this afternoon, and then some pockets of that heavy rain continuing into the evening. Thanks so much for joining us on Forecasting with Friends. We're going to have much more for you tomorrow at 11 a.m., so make sure to join us.